Destiny in the making. The unbeatable combination. The man of head and heart. H. Hine. A remarkable example of the creative process of our mind is the story of Joseph, a little Eastern European boy whose mother died when he was only 5. At 11, he was fully orphaned. Having no one to care for him, he supported and educated himself from this time forward. Fascinated with books and eager to learn, he mastered German, French, and English while still a young teenager, and devoured the classics of these 3 cultures in addition to his own. But above all, he dreamed of living someday in that faraway wonderland called America, the home of his dearest and most intimate friends, Mark Twain, Tom Sawyer, and Huckleberry Finn. When he grew up, he managed to get as far as Paris, and while walking the streets of this city to conserve bus fare, he passed daily by a new excavation site where the famous Coty Cosmetic Company was preparing to build its new headquarters. Day by day, with empty pockets, he would stop to watch the work in progress. To brighten his mood, he began to imagine that the entire project was his. As the handsome building rose, he secretly identified himself as its proud owner. This new thought pattern so lifted his spirits that he soon improvised on a shoestring the most modest of business ventures. Always dreaming far beyond all reason and logic, he now identified himself as a highly successful international manufacturer, and his affairs grew and expanded many times over. While continuing his education in night classes at Paris's Sorbonne University, he lived greatly in his fantasies and his daydreams. One day, moved by the muses of inspiration, he inquired about larger new quarters and was astonished and excited to learn that the Coty Cosmetic Company was now consolidating its operation in the suburbs of Paris and was about to put on the market the handsome building of his earlier dreams. Now, having acquired substantial finances, he bought the building at once and paid for it in cash. On moving in, he celebrated that his penniless dream of ownership had crystallized into fact. Continuing his waking dreams, Joseph acquired other buildings on both sides of the Atlantic. His business affairs expanded into international scope, and he now maintained 3 homes on 2 continents. This unprotected orphan child had developed himself into a respected position in several foreign countries and enjoyed a full and enriching life, all because he lived in his imagination, his fantasies and dreams of the day. I know this story very well indeed, for when we met at a formal luncheon in Paris, this handsome and distinguished man engaged me in a happy conversation and then excused himself and disappeared briefly. Later, he told me that he had gone to ask our hostess to seat him beside me, and there began a beautiful and exciting storybook romance. However, Joseph, having fulfilled his lifelong dream of living in America, was settled in New York, while I was happily situated in Los Angeles. When we each returned home to opposite sides of the continent, there began a steady westward stream of flowers, telephone calls, and letters, punctuated by occasional visits. Now, another of his enduring dreams was that of an ideal marriage, and he had decided almost from our first meeting that I was to be the ideal mate. He urged me to move to New York, but you can well understand my reluctance to exchange California sunshine and year-round roses for the icy winds and snow of New York. I resisted, but Joseph persisted, and in time his noble and enduring character grew in my affections. So I went to New York, lived at the Barbizon Hotel for women, and attended nearby Hunter College. When first I arrived in the city, I saw from my hotel windows a veritable fairyland of snow-white splendor. Walking through the dazzling spectacle of Central Park for the first time in the enchantment of softly falling snowflakes, I was unprepared for a scene that was so spellbinding that it appeared unreal. Every tree, bush, and growing thing was costumed as for an ethereal ballet, with raiments of snowy white jewels that sparkled and shimmered in the morning sunlight. Strolling hand in hand with my love, we visited the zoo, the large poetic fountain, and the boat lake. All arrayed in splendor, it was majestic. I enjoyed my college studies and the city's rich repertoire of the arts, the broad array of the world's finest concert artists, the ballet, the theatre, and the wealth of treasures in the museums provided enrichment for 25 years. At that time, I never guessed that I would join the ranks of the speakers I enjoyed at Town Hall, the universities, the new school for social research, and all around me. But I have digressed from my story, and I hasten to return to the affairs of the heart, to the one I most loved and admired in all the world. I came to recognize that my own dream of some undefined wonder was crystallizing in our approaching union. His dream of an ideal marriage materialized. We were the happiest, most devoted of sweethearts for the remaining 21 years of his blessed life. It was a marriage made in heaven. Every day we took long walks together, hand in hand, and throughout the years when he had to be in Europe for a month at a time, or when we lived in Paris and he came to America for several weeks, we each wrote love letters every day. He said that my loving thoughts and constant praise were the inspiration and highlight of his day. Clearly, he had climbed the tree of life on the branches of dreams and fantasy. Your world in every detail is your consciousness objectified. Neville Goddard. End of this chapter.